Alright, form review for Luke Depriest over here. We'll go through it slowly here. First thing I noticed about Luke's run-up was that it does a two-step run-up, which is it's not a bad thing. I'm always a fan of less moving parts. Most people do a three-step, but there's nothing wrong with two-step at all. I had to modify Dan's video a little bit. He takes a three-step, so this is actually his first step here, and then I just went on from there in order to match it up with what Luke's looks like. So, first thing I would tell him to start with the disc higher up, have it up by your chest. As you can see, Dan's here. He's got it up by his chest a little bit, and down by your belly button. That way, you don't have to. The way you have it now, it's down by your belly button. When you do reach back, it's still like a lower reach back. If you bring the disc up to start and have it up around your chest, we'll fix another issue that I mentioned later on. So, when you go into your X step, you have a really big X step, which leads to you turning your hips too early. As you can see, Dan's X step right here is real small, nice compact. His hips are still closed, didn't open up yet, which is important to get the most out of your lower body. Also, looks away from the target too soon. You really want to use the front shoulder here to push your head. So you should be looking at the target where you're throwing until you start your reach back, and when you start your reach back, you'll notice on Dan's here, his front shoulder is what pushes his head to look away from the target. So right here, there's nothing forcing you to look away from your target, but you're already not looking at it. So it is very minuscule, but you start your reach back a little. You want to wait until your front foot is coming out of the X step to start your reach back. So you'll notice as Dan's your front or your right foot is your plant foot. So you'll notice as Dan's plant foot comes out of the X step, his arm starts to go backwards and move almost at the same rate that his plant foot moves. It's only a touch early, but you'll notice Luke's reach back is already starting. You can see his arm moving back, and his foot hasn't left the ground yet. Not the actual angle or how high his reach back is, but Luke's reach back looks good as far as it's not across his body. He has a nice straight reach back with his elbow. So that's very good. He needs to lift his arm up, which I said earlier he can begin to do by just lifting the disc up at the beginning and not having it down by his belly button. When you're coming through, his reach back also looks good because his reach back peaks at the same time his front foot touches, which is good. When he's coming through, this is almost every single AM does it. I do it, and I've been working on fixing it. I didn't really think it was that big of a deal to fix this, but I watched Simon Lazat, Paul McBeth, Dan does it, Justin Gilbert, local kid does it, and they all throw really far, and they're really good at hitting lines and stuff. So I decided I would go out and work on it, and I found myself hitting better lines and throwing a lot further. I tell people to pretend that there's a glass window right here at the edge of your foot. You want to break that glass with your elbow here, and then your arm should rotate and your shoulder should open up, but they shouldn't do it until then. And as you see, as soon as Luke's elbow gets to about the side of his body, he starts to open up his shoulders. And the reason it's important to get your elbow out is because that's when your arm is acting like a whip, and you'll get the most distance out of it. As you notice Dan's, as he's pulling through, his elbow is way out here, and then his hand is going to whip around that pivot point of his elbow, and that's where he's going to get the most distance out of. As far as your offhand, your left hand, it's really not that bad for Luke, but he could afford to bring his elbow in a little bit more and stay more compact. A lot of people are flailing around. I don't have the ability to keep my left arm next to me. Another thing I've been working on. A lot of people look like a bird after they throw. But Luke is not the worst, but again, they could improve. Alright, I'm going to go over a couple angles here. I like to go over the angle of your last step and the angle of your reach back to the ground and the angle of your release to the ground. Oh, one last thing. It looks like he might be opening up his hand when he's throwing. It's hard to tell because right here it kind of looks like he still has a fist. But as you come through, you can see that right here his hand is open. I don't know if that's just him doing it in his reach back, but if you notice Dan's form here, watch when he lets go of the disc. His hand is still in a fist, and then his reach back, he keeps his hand in that fist. So the disc is ripping out of his hand. He's not letting the disc go, which again is going to create the disc to get the most torque and most rotations and go the furthest. Alright, now I'm going to go into the angles. I already have them dropped here. Alright, so we'll do the angle of his final step. It's about 81 degrees, 82 degrees. And the angle of his reach back here is about 73, 74 degrees. I have here pictures of a lot of top pros: Manabu Kojiyama, Ricky Wysocki, Paul McBeth, Eagle McMahon, Simon Lazat, and then Dan Brooks. So you'll notice their final step, they're all in between, they're like middle 80s to high 80s. So Luke's is at 81. He could afford to take an extra couple inches on that last step, but it's not overwhelmingly under the average, so you don't really have to mess with it too much. That reach back though, Paul is the lowest reach back out of the group, and he's down at 79, and Luke is at 75, so he definitely needs to bring that reach back up a little bit. And lastly, I want to go over Luke's release point, which is 80. So one of the main things I look for is that when your reach back angle and your release angle are the same. So Luke's reach back is 75 degrees, his release is 80 degrees, so that's pretty close to even, but kind of want to get that up a little bit. If you put it in the air more, it's going to get more distance. I have a picture of pros release points. I can put that next to the reach backs. So Manabu actually, his release point is lower, which is weird to me. Dan's is lower too, ish. It's kind of like 90. When I measured it, it was 85. Paul's goes from 79 to 91, so that's not even really close, but it's Paul McBeth, so I can't argue with it. Eagles pretty close, 80 to 88. Simon is almost dead even with 84 to 82. So plus or minus 5 degrees isn't bad, which is the case for Luke, but you kind of want to get it up a little bit just so you're putting it in the air more. Let's see. That's my form review, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks.